Revealed, my sister's store crisis forced me to step up when parents abandoned my wedding. Sarah stood in the musty aisles of Maplewood's only bookstore, her hands gripping a novel so tightly it felt as if it might shatter. Just weeks from the wedding she had envisioned since childhood, a day adorned with white lace, blooming flowers, and the blissful anticipation of happily ever after. Everything felt like it was spiraling into chaos. Her sister, Jenna, had called with news that struck her heart like cold steel. The antique shop, a family legacy, was crumbling, and her parents had made it clear they would pour their support into Jenna, leaving Sarah feeling invisible. Was she really about to lose her moment of magic to her sister's misfortunes? Breath-hitching, Sarah's thoughts raced in circles, unsure whether to feel betrayed by her family or defend them. A wedding was supposed to be filled with joy, not overshadowed by economic struggles. Glancing at the book's spine, a tale of unyielding loyalty, she found it jarring, almost ironic. The same loyalty she had watched her parents display toward Jenna now felt like a dagger to her own dreams. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The thought of stepping away from wedding preparations gnawed at her, yet the vision of Jenna's beloved shop brimming with memories of family gatherings and warmth refused to fade. Clenching her jaw, Sarah felt the bubbling tension rise. Was she willing to sacrifice her dream for the sake of familial duty? What kind of sister would she be if she didn't at least try to help? A mixture of determination and desperation settled deep in her chest. With each passing moment, the weight of the impending wedding began to crush her spirit. As Sarah combed through old photographs, memories seemed to flicker like lightning bugs on a summer night. Their parents standing proudly beside the shop, echoes of laughter bounced off its walls, each memory now laced with sorrow. She was being asked to choose between her joy and her family's legacy, a heart-wrenching dilemma that felt unjust. As she picked up a dusty ledger detailing years of family history within the shop, Sarah's chest tightened with anger and fear. The suffocating reality of financial jeopardy cast shadows beyond her wedding day, reflecting many lives in their small community. Who was she to dream of lace and laughter when her sister faced the biting cold of failure? An aching realization settled like cold fingers around her heart. Her dreams weren't merely slipping away, they were dissolving into thin air, leaving her balancing on the frail line of what her family needed and what she desired. Each decision felt laced with betrayal, guilt crawling into her thoughts with every breath. What would she lose in the pursuit of her own happiness? As chaos centered around the shop, her heart thundered with confusion and determination, leaving Sarah standing at a haunting crossroads. Would she stumble into the darkness of abandonment, or embrace the flickering hope that her sister might carry forward the family flame? The answer remained elusive. The only certainty was that she stood on the precipice of a monumental choice, and the weight of love and sacrifice pulled heavily down, deepening the conflict within. It was the morning after her heart-wrenching realization, and Sarah woke to the faint sunlight streaming through her bedroom window. The warmth felt foreign as she pulled the covers closer, cocooning herself from the day ahead. Her wedding dress hung, untouched and unappreciated, in the back of her closet, its pristine fabric a stark contrast to the turmoil festering in her mind. No longer focusing on the wedding, she instead needed to understand how to help her sister, Jenna. Her mind was racing as she sat at her desk, an assortment of half-finished wedding plans and scribbled notes scattered around. Lifting her phone, she hesitated before scrolling through Jenna's recent messages. Each one was tinged with a sense of urgency, and she could almost feel the weight of Jenna's fears pressing against her. Sarah questioned whether initiating a conversation about the shop would be noble or naive. But if she chose not to engage, how would she forgive herself? Clenching her fists in determination, Sarah resolved to visit the antique shop. The very essence of her childhood seemed tied to that building, filled with echoes that weren't just Jenna's, they were hers as well. The lingering scent of aged wood and the clink of porcelain were testimonies to the life her family had built together, and now it was time to step into that reality and face what lay ahead. As she entered the shop, the bells above the door rang disjointedly, echoing a fractured sense of nostalgia. Dust particles floated in the sunbeams, illuminating items that held years of stories. Jenna stood behind the counter, the weariness on her face more pronounced than ever. "Sarah," Jenna said, her voice barely a whisper, "I didn't think you'd come." The tense atmosphere suffocated any semblance of joy for Sarah as she approached. "I can't turn my back on you, Jenna. We need to talk about this." Jenna's shoulders slumped at the mention of their parents' decision, and Sarah's heart twisted with empathy. "I hate that they put you in this position." I don't know what to do," Jenna replied, tracing her fingers along the edge of a display case. "It feels insurmountable. I don't want to let them down." The raw vulnerability in Jenna's voice struck a chord in Sarah, awakening a fierce determination within her. "We can save this shop together. You don't have to carry this burden alone." Jenna looked up, her eyes narrowing in disbelief. "You mean it? But what about your wedding?" "I can postpone my wedding," Sarah asserted, her voice firm and resolute. "This shop means so much more to us." And maybe she hesitated, a flicker of ambition igniting. "Maybe I can help with a plan. I've read countless business articles for my marketing job, there may be strategies we can employ." "What? You'd want to?" Jenna asked, the spark of hope eliciting a reaction from Sarah she hadn't anticipated herself. "Absolutely," Sarah replied. The simple words carried a newfound weight, a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in days. As she began brainstorming ideas, potential pop-up events and collaborations with local artists, her heart raced with each passing moment. The prospect of working alongside Jenna was both daunting and exhilarating, igniting a fire within her that transformed her focus away from personal loss towards creative possibilities. Suddenly, the shop door swung open, and a familiar face entered. It was Mark, her fiancé, whose presence felt like a jolt of electricity. "Sarah, I didn't expect to find you here," he said, a hint of unease in his tone. Caught between the excitement of newfound resolve and a growing tension with Mark, Sarah realized their conversation about the future had just taken an unexpected turn. She had a choice to make: address their crumbling plans together, or solidify her commitment to an uncertain but hopeful future with Jenna. "So you're back to being the family savior, are you?" Mark's voice pierced the air, filled with skepticism and concern. The moment lay heavy in the silence, punctuated by a mounting sense of impending conflict. Which road would she choose now that she felt both? The familiar pull of family loyalty and the weight of her personal aspirations growing heavier? As Sarah searched for words, the next step seemed daunting yet vital. She was on the verge of defining who she really was. The charged air in the antique shop grew thick with tension. Sarah could feel the weight of Mark's gaze, a discernible push against her new resolve. She braced herself, her mind racing through every possible comeback, every justification for this sudden shift toward familial duty. "Being a family savior isn't quite how I see it," she shot back, her heart pounding. "I'm just trying to do what's right for my sister and for the legacy our parents built." A ripple of vulnerability grazed her voice, a shout against the churning internal conflict of feeling trapped between two worlds. Mark raised his eyebrows, incredulity etched on his face. "And what about your wedding, Sarah? That was supposed to be an important moment for us, our moment." His words stung, cutting through the thickening fog around them. "I can't turn my back on Jenna. She needs me," Sarah replied, tempered by a blend of frustration and fierce determination. Each word solidified her commitment not only to Jenna but to a part of herself she had long neglected, the part that thrived on family connection and purpose. "Fine," Mark huffed, his tone shifting to that of exasperation. "But where does that leave us? What do you want, really? Every time I turn around, it feels like you're running away from our future." His words echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of the uncertainty swirling within her. Yes, she was stepping away from wedding plans, dreams drawn in white lace and bouquets. But Sarah could no longer ignore the call to action that beckoned from the antique shop's weathered walls, the whispered memories tucked in each artifact. I want to make a difference, Mark, she replied, her voice suddenly steadier, more resolved. I want to help Jenna. I want to help the shop. The last word fell from her lips, resonating with all the harmony of her past, the weight of her ancestry, and the electricity of her newfound ambition. Mark opened his mouth, but she interrupted him, her thoughts bustling. Can't you see? This is my chance to figure out who I really am outside of being your fiancée or the perfect daughter. It's terrifying, but more importantly, it's empowering. Jenna stood silently, shifting from foot to foot as Sarah's words cast over them like thin sunlight breaking through the clouds. Her sister looked relieved but still unsure, a fragile spark kindling within her eyes. What if we did a themed evening? Vintage nights where we showcase crafts, antiques, and local artists? Sarah suggested, her mind racing through her marketing knowledge, now excitingly relevant. We could even tap into social media to attract new customers. We need to reinvigorate the shop concept. It could breathe new life into it. Mark folded his arms, skepticism skimming across his brow. And let go of the wedding planning? Just like that? Why can't I do both? She challenged, defiance painting her voice. We can carve out time for our wedding later. But right now, Jenna needs me and I need this. The uncertainty of her final words hung in the air, mingling with the dust mote sparkling in the light. As Sarah glanced at Jenna, the corners of her sister's mouth turned upward, igniting hope in the air swirled with conflict. Maybe we can make this work, Sarah, Jenna said quietly, her voice just a fraction more confident. If we truly put our hearts into this, we can save the shop. Sarah felt a rush of joy filtering through her anxiety, a sense of unity solidifying the space between them. Yet beneath that elation coiled the unresolved matter with Mark, weighing heavy like lead. The prospect of uprooting her life still led to an uncertain path ahead. As Mark's expression shifted, the unspoken challenge hung in the air. The tension coiled tighter, leading Sarah to wonder whether she could maintain her commitment to Jenna while attempting to soothe the growing friction with Mark. The true test of her resolve was brewing, and she sensed that it would demand far more than just marketing strategies and enthusiasm. What if this endeavor would unearth deeper secrets? What if she were to find out things she never expected about Jenna, their family, or even herself? As her heart raced with anticipation and dread, the echo of an unfinished melody haunted her. The moment it arrived, Sarah would need to decide not only how to save the shop but how to confront the unresolved tensions threatening to fracture all her newfound hopes. Sarah's resolve solidified as the warmth of newfound ambition pulsed through her veins, yet the heaviness of unresolved tension hung like a storm cloud above her. The antique shop crackled with possibility, each corner whispering secrets of creativity that beckoned her closer to her own identity. Let us meet tomorrow and brainstorm more ideas, Sarah proposed, the words pouring out with an urgency that startled even her. How had this quiet shop, with its cluttered corners and half-told stories, become the crucible for her transformation? The adrenaline surged, feeding her determination to carve a niche where family bonds and personal aspirations intersected. All right, Jenna nodded, her enthusiasm mingled with a flickering uncertainty. I want to help too, but her voice faltered, the weight of their late parents' expectations lingering uncomfortably in the air. I get it, Sarah said, stepping closer to ease the apprehension pooling in Jenna's eyes. She needed to shield her sister from the ghosts of their parents' past, to reframe the narrative they had always adhered to. This is our chance to create something new. We'll make it our legacy, not theirs. As Jenna smiled more fully, the tension in the room began to lift, and hope crackled like energy in the air. But then, Mark's disapproving silence surged back to the forefront of Sarah's mind. Can you really put this wedding planning on hold? He questioned, his voice still echoing in her thoughts. Her heart felt heavy, knowing that every moment spent in the antique shop was simultaneously a step away from the life they had planned together. I can't bow out, not when there is so much at stake. The thought surfaced unbidden, opening up the complexity of her feelings for Mark. Was she abandoning their future, or was she merely seeking her own path? The conflict tugged at the edges of her thoughts like threads she couldn't yet weave together. By evening's end, the shop's dusty charm felt like a promise gathering strength. With every inch Sarah reclaimed, she yearned to dive even deeper beyond marketing, into the heart of the family legacy. Memories of her parents leaning over the counter, dusty hands brushing against lacquered wood, the smell of aged paper tracking time and space, all of it stirred an instinctive need to push forward. That night, plagued by the dichotomy of her existence, Sarah scrunched her brow at the small desk in her bedroom. The once pristine white pages of her wedding planner felt unspeakably foreign now, and as she tore through her notes, the raw adrenaline from earlier coursed through her. What could be salvaged? The answer suddenly hit her. Was it truly about the wedding she envisioned, or was she mourning the life that might have been? Struck by existential clarity, she grasped a pencil and began brainstorming ideas for their first themed night. She envisioned fairy lights strung like stars, soft music mingling with the human laughter, an inviting atmosphere where emotions could collide and mingle freely. Ingenious ideas began to bloom as she created a list, local artists showcasing their work, crafting demos, themed costumes to invoke nostalgia. Ideas flowed with surprising ease, revealing Sarah's capability to create worlds from her imagination, to turn fragments of her childhood into tangible experiences for others. Between thoughts of Jenna and the space they would create together, Sarah started to feel less of a burden and more of a beacon of hope. Perhaps she wouldn't just save the shop, perhaps she'd save herself in the process. Yet, as she sat alone in her room, a chilling whisper of doubt taunted her. Was this ambition fragile enough to be shattered by Mark's potential rage or his expression of betrayal? Fingers poised over her paper, she trembled at the prospect of facing her future in both realities, the wedding and the shop. In the crossfire of emotions, she wondered, what truths lay hidden beneath the surface waiting to be uncovered. Each tick of the clock felt like a countdown, a reminder that soon she would need to face Mark again. As she pressed the pencil harder against the page, ideas spinning in disarray, she realized her awakening had only just begun. Would she be strong enough to defend this new direction when confronted again, or would her past, with all its expectations and loyalties, come crashing back? The clock struck midnight, and with it, the lingering promise of conflict and revelation loomed ever closer. How long could she balance the weight of two lives without cracking? The truth awaited just out of reach, pulling her farther into the shadows. Morning light seeped through the curtains, splashing a warm glow across Sarah's room. She awoke with a renewed sense of purpose yet carried the weight of conflicting obligations like a heavy cloak. The vision of the antique shop filled her mind, igniting an enthusiasm that pushed her out of bed, but the image of Mark's disappointed expression tugged at her heels. Today would be different. She would transform her ideas into action. She gathered her notes and her pencil like a knight preparing for battle, bolstered by the conviction that creativity could forge a path through indifference. As she sipped her coffee, she framed the upcoming meeting with Jenna as both a personal commitment and a professional endeavor. This was more than a sibling project, it was their shared legacy. The antique shop beckoned her like a long-lost friend. Each step down the familiar path felt charged with electricity, her heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of potential. As she pushed through the door, the bells jingled above her, announcing her arrival. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light that filtered through the windows, and for the first time, the mess that normally felt chaotic appeared to be full of possibility. Stacks of forgotten books and relics could become the backdrop for the experiences she envisioned. Jenna, she called, the excitement vibrantly resonant in her voice. What do you think about hosting a local artist showcase next weekend? We could transform the shop into a vibrant cultural hub. People could come to enjoy art, music, and share stories. Jenna's brow furrowed for a moment, the familiar hint of doubt flashing across her features. It sounds amazing, but will it really draw people in? What if no one shows? When doubts clouded the conversation, Sarah felt a sting of frustration but tempered it. What if they do show? This is not just about both of us. She softened her tone, memory flooded her mind how they used to host little gatherings as kids, sparking joy in the company of others. Remember the fun we had creating that little art show in high school? We can do it again. As Jenna met her gaze, a spark ignited in her eyes, tempered with caution. You think we can really pull this off? I believe we can, Sarah affirmed, determination solidifying her words. We have the space. We have the talent. And more than that, we have each other. They bounced ideas off one another: art themes, food trucks, sensory experiences. With each suggestion, their personal connections deepened, and Sarah felt a burden lift. Inevitably, Jenna's reservations started to dissipate, replaced by enthusiasm that mirrored her own. But mid-brainstorm, a disquieting thought clawed back at Sarah. The wedding. Her decisions here could fracture yet another important relationship, one that had once felt like her surest promise. Would Mark understand her need to chase this passion? Or would he resent the time devoured by her newfound commitment? She bit her lip, anxiety writhing in her stomach. Ignoring it didn't shield her from its grasp. "Hey, you still thinking about Mark?" Jenna's voice pierced through her swirling thoughts, shattering the fragile facade of confidence she defabricated. "How could I not? I don't want to let him down," but Sarah hesitated, her heart racing. "This isn't just a phase for me. I need him to understand." "Maybe you can make him part of it?" Jenna suggested tentatively. "He might surprise you." The idea settled on her mind, like a plea and a challenge. Could blending their lives create more harmony than conflict? It might be the bridge that turned contention into collaboration. After all, Mark was part of her world, wasn't he? Before she could fall deeper into contemplation, Sarah's phone buzzed on the counter, jolting her back to the present. The caller ID read Mark, and her breath hitched. Should she answer? Would this call be an opportunity to confront the reality waiting beneath her dreams, or would it shatter the fragile momentum she built? With her heart racing and an unexpected determination igniting her instinct, she swiped to answer. Each word exchanged with Mark would carry the weight of her choices. "Hey, Mark," she said, bracing for impact. "Can we talk?" His voice conveyed an urgency that set her on edge. "Of course. I've been thinking about us." The future wavered precariously in that moment. Was it the beginning of reconciliation or the end of a dream? The truth was about to unfold, and with it, the clarity that had been eluding her loomed just out of reach. Sarah took a deep breath as she absorbed Mark's tone. "Sure, what's on your mind?" The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. She felt that familiar mix of hope and dread swell within her. "I don't know how to say this," he said, his voice slightly cracking, echoing a vulnerability that pierced straight to her core. "It's just, you seem different lately. More focused on this store project than on us." A pang of guilt tore through her. Mark had always been the steady hand in her life, but the more she embraced her passion for the antique shop, the more she sensed a rift growing between them. "I care about us, Mark. But this is important for me. I want to make something meaningful." "Meaningful?" "We're meant to get married, Sarah." "I thought we were on the same page," he replied, the frustration evident in his words. His candidness rattled her. She had always shied away from conflict, but now she felt an urge to confront the discomfort. "We are on the same page, but we're rewriting a few chapters. I can't just let this opportunity slip through my fingers," she replied, ready to assert herself, yet anxious about the fallout. "Is it really about the shop? Or is it about avoiding the wedding?" Mark pressed, his question leaving no space for evasion. She hesitated. How could she explain the internal fight? The excitement coursing through her veins whenever she envisioned the shop juxtaposed against the suffocating image of wedding plans? "It's not about avoidance. I believe I can do both," she said, feeling the urgency in her voice rise. "Why do I feel like I'm being left behind?" Mark's tone shifted, revealing the hurt that had morphed into anger. "You're diving headfirst into this project, and I have to watch. You need to realize that I can't just stand by." Here it was a direct confrontation with the reality she had been trying to navigate. It felt surreal, yet it was essential. Sarah took a moment, urgency overtaking her once more. "What if you joined me? I mean, you always have great ideas." Silence stretched between them, and Sarah could almost hear the gears turning in Mark's mind. She pictured how exasperated Jenna would be at this too, but the vision of collaboration made her pulse quicken with hope. Think about it, your skills could really elevate the showcase. We could make it something special together. You're serious about this? He asked, skepticism tinging his voice. Absolutely, she affirmed, her previous doubts dissolving under newfound clarity. I want to share this with you. We can find a balance that works. Mark sounded contemplative. Maybe it's worth considering, but you need to understand that I'm not willing to be an afterthought in your plans. That's not what this is about, she insisted, her voice steady. Your support means the world to me. But we have to find a way to blend both worlds. I don't want to lose you in this process. Do you really think you can manage all of this? He asked her, something softer creeping into his tone. Because if you're serious, I'll support you, but I need to feel like we're a team. In that moment, Sarah recognized the weight of her choices. Professional ambitions could either fortify their bond or unravel it. I'm committed to making this work, she replied, confidence surging through her. Let us start small, let's brainstorm ideas for the event together. As they hung up, Sarah marveled at her reflection on the screen, feeling as if she had stepped through an invisible door into a new world. She could see the antique shop as a potential bridge, not just for herself, but for her relationship with Mark. It was a turning point, one that ignited a sense of possibility she hadn't fully grasped prior. She realized that blending her personal and professional passions was not an impossible task, but a challenge worth undertaking. With renewed vigor, she began to draft plans, feeling the excitement wash over her once again. Ideas flowed, artist spotlights, community interactions, immersive experiences. She felt alive, true to herself for possibly the first time. But just as the thrill of collaboration washed over her, the unnerving reminder of the wedding details loomed in the background. Would she be able to construct a future that harmonized her ambitions and commitments? Before she could dive into her newfound aspirations, a notification popped up on her phone, a text from Jenna. We need to meet. There is something I need to tell you about the show. An unease settled in her stomach. What more could possibly complicate this journey? She could feel a shift in the air, a new chapter about to unravel. But she had to face it, she had stepped into the unknown before, and she was ready to confront whatever awaited her. Sarah felt her heart race as she read Jenna's text again. The urgency in her sister's message gnawed at her, twisting her stomach like a coiling snake. She set her phone down, mentally sifting through the whirlwind of emotions churning inside her. This meeting could either be the catalyst for progress or another layer of complication in her already chaotic life. After a relentless cycle of pacing and plotting, she decided to seize control. Knowing Jenna would expect her to be on top of things, Sarah pulled out her laptop, laid out the scattered notes she had jotted down, and began to outline a plan for the store launch. Her mind buzzed with potential ideas, but a nagging thought reverberated: how would this meeting with Jenna fit into her blossoming partnership with Mark? The questions welled up, embodying the personal dilemmas she needed to confront. The antique shop was her dream, a canvas for her ambitions, but it also had the potential to exacerbate her already fraught relationship with Mark. Could they approach this project as partners? Her instinct said yes, but doubt flickered like a candle in the wind. When Sarah finally met Jenna at their favorite cafe, a sense of familiar comfort washed over her. But she could feel the weight of expectation in the air. Jenna, always the more outwardly confident sister, was pacing too, her hands fidgeting, a clear sign that something was off. Thanks for coming, Jenna began abruptly, sliding into the chair opposite Sarah. I've been thinking a lot about the show, and honestly, I don't know how to say this without sounding dramatic. Just say it, Jenna. We're sisters, we're in this together, right? Sarah responded, hoping to ease what was obviously a tense moment. Jenna took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with a hint of frustration. I'm struggling to balance everything. The vendor commitments are falling through, and we have less time than we thought to secure participants. We might have to scale back or even worse, postpone the show. It's a mess, Sarah. A cold shiver crept through Sarah's spine. She had hoped for a collaborative opportunity that would empower them both, but now her sister's anxiety felt like an avalanche threatening to bury them. "What do you need from me? How can I help?" Jenna's expression hardened slightly, surprise flickering in her eyes. "I didn't expect you to offer so quickly. I thought you'd balk at the load. We both know planning is a minefield." The challenge felt invigorating, not terrifying. Sarah leaned in, a wave of determination surging within her. "This is an opportunity for us, Jen. If we collaborate effectively, we could merge our visions for the antique shop and the showcase. We can elevate both." Not sure how that works." "Your love for antiques might not translate to my artistic vibe," Jenna countered, skepticism tainting her voice. "Could it be that simple?" Sarah thought, her mind racing to formulate an approach. This was a chance for her to not only assert herself but to integrate their strengths. The potential for synergy bubbled within her. "We both have strengths," Sarah countered, gaining momentum. "You have the artistic vision, and I have retail connections. Together we could hold workshops, maybe showcase local artists through my shop. Let's pitch this whole idea in a way that complements both." Jenna paused, contemplation softening her rigid posture. "That could work, but you'd really have to commit. No backing down." "I promise." The sincerity in Sarah's voice resonated between them. Before she could dwell on the weight of the commitment, a flash of worry danced through her mind. Would Mark feel abandoned or supportive as she juggled these demands? The comforting familiarity of her sister's presence began to feel charged with new possibilities. But the thought of upcoming wedding plans lurked nearby, a heavy reminder of the discord she sought to resolve. A reciprocal cycle of ambition and tension spun in her mind, oscillating between her professional pursuits and personal relationships. "Let's start brainstorming," Sarah urged, her heart racing with both excitement and apprehension. It felt like they were standing on the brink of something transformative. As they articulated ideas back and forth, Sarah could feel the tension within her ease, yet it was replaced by a pressing realization: would this collaboration stoke the flames of her ambitions or extend the rift between her and Mark? Just as clarity began to surface, Jenna interrupted her thoughts. "By the way, I think Dad and Mom are visiting soon. You should prepare for that." The mention of her parents caused Sarah's heart to drop again, fracturing the moment. What role would they play as she tried to carve out her independence? She couldn't afford a repeat of old conflicts. She had to navigate both her family expectations and her burgeoning identity as a business owner. A new urgency surged within her, solidifying her resolve to rise to the occasion. The stakes had elevated, and she felt that familiar thrill of a challenge ahead. She needed to secure her dreams, her relationships, and now faced the daunting prospect of family dynamics. Yet, just as she thought of her next steps, another message notification dinged on her phone, a reminder about the wedding venue. Her heart iced over momentarily. Was she truly ready for what lay ahead, or would it collapse under the weight of it all? As Sarah struggled to decipher what path to take, the inevitability of impending confrontations loomed larger than ever, igniting a flicker of fear at the edge of her excitement. Amidst the unfolding possibilities, she knew one undeniable truth: she could no longer afford to shy away from the conflicts that shaped her life. Confrontation and clarity awaited her, and she had to be ready to launch headfirst into them. As Sarah exited the cafe, the crisp air hit her like a splash of cold water. The sun was setting, casting long shadows that mirrored the uncertainty gnawing at her insides. Confrontations loomed ahead, yet she was determined to carve her path through the chaos. Each step felt like an act of rebellion against the vision people had for her life, particularly her family's expectations surrounding the wedding. That pressure was relentless, a chain that seemed to tighten with each breath. Her mind cycled through the possibilities, rattling the plans for both her business and Jenna's show. She could feel herself on the brink of something monumental, but apprehension clutched at her. How could she balance her ambitions while orchestrating a wedding that was fast approaching? Each stroke of the clock seemed to echo the mounting tensions in her life, a reminder that time was not her ally. Back at home, Sarah found solace in her small workspace filled with antique treasures, a world where she called the shots. She sat down at her desk and opened her laptop, the glow illuminating her determined features. Her fingers hovered over the keys, an impulse gathering strength within her. As she navigated Jenna's ideas, a newfound clarity struck. This project could knit together the fragmented areas of her life. The prospect of integrating the antique shop into the showcase felt liberating. It gave her a sense of direction amid the chaos. She could involve more local artists, create unique workshops, and establish herself as a key player in this collaborative venture. It felt like an invocation of her purpose, a chance to make a difference not only for herself but for Jenna too. However, the internal conflict loomed larger with each passing thought. In involving herself deeply with Jenna, could she risk loosening her grip on her relationship with Mark? They had always supported each other, but the more Sarah immersed herself in her burgeoning role, the more she sensed a gulf opening, a space filled with unsaid words and fears. Would he support her growth or feel increasingly sidelined? Just then, her phone buzzed again, pulling her from her spiral of thoughts. It was a text from Mark. "Hey, can we talk later tonight? Something's been on my mind." Dread pulled in Sarah's stomach. Talk. The word alone held the weight of uncomfortable discussions. How could she face him with the enormity of her commitments? What if he felt pushed out? Anxiety mixed with determination, a wicked cocktail that drove her to confront her fears head-on. She realized that she had to be honest with Mark about everything: the antique shop, the stress with Jenna, and her burgeoning dreams. But there was another layer to consider. Her parents' upcoming visit would introduce a whole new set of dynamics. Her focus, her courage, was going to be tested, as they would undoubtedly want to discuss wedding plans. Without thinking, Sarah quickly drafted a response to Mark, suggesting they meet at a nearby park to talk. She felt there was less pressure outside, where they could navigate the conversation without walls closing in on them. As she hit send, a rush of anticipation surged through her. This was her moment to step up, not just as a businesswoman planning a showcase but also as a partner who needed to advocate for her aspirations. She was ready to face uncertainties, not only in her professional life but also in her personal relationships. But a nagging thought lingered: what if Mark was about to voice doubts about their future together? A wave of uncertainty flooded her, and she found it hard to catch her breath. But just as these darker thoughts threatened to overwhelm her resolve, images of the antique shop, her dreams, her sister's hopes flashed in her mind, breaching the anxiety. She had begun stitching a new narrative for her life, one that felt authentically hers. Still, was she strong enough for the echoes of disappointment and the ripples of conflict she was about to trigger? Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for the imminent conversations. The landscape of her life was shifting dramatically, and she felt both fear and excitement entwining within her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of hope and uncertainty, Sarah understood that she was on the brink of profound change. Whatever awaited her in this pivotal moment, she knew it was time to embrace the duality of her journey, the merging of dreams and responsibilities. The stakes were high, and she was on the verge of not just defining her career but also redefining her relationships. Could she find the right balance, or would she have to choose between love and ambition? Just then, her phone chimed with another incoming message, the screen lighting up with Mark's name once more. This time the words may very well dictate the pace she would take into the storm of her life. The darkness was settling in, but the park was still alive with the soft sounds of evening rustling leaves, laughter from distant families, and the occasional bark of a dog. Sarah felt the breeze against her skin as she approached the bench she had suggested for their talk. The familiar trees loomed above, their silhouettes stark against the starlit sky, anchoring her thoughts to the conversation ahead. Attention buzzed in the air while she replayed her rehearsed lines, assuring herself that honesty was her only option. But something clenched in her throat as she imagined Mark's response to her aspirations. What if he struggled to understand? What if he believed she was prioritizing her dreams over him? Mark arrived 10 minutes late. When he walked towards her, the casualness of his stride felt like a contrast to the weight of the words they needed to exchange. She noted how his hair fell slightly over his brow, a detail that often made her smile but felt like a fog now. Today, there were no smiles, only an undercurrent of deep-seated uncertainty. As they settled onto the bench, neither one spoke immediately. An invisible barrier hung between them, its weight more palpable than the chill in the air. Sarah toyed with the ends of her scarf, hoping to gather the courage to break the silence when Mark glanced over. "How's everything going?" he asked, a hint of something in his voice. Was it hesitance or genuine curiosity? "Busy," Sarah replied, opting for brevity. "I've been working on integrating the antique shop into Jenna's showcase idea." His brow furrowed, but she pushed ahead. "It's exciting and overwhelming," she explained, her voice quavering slightly. "But I think it has the potential to help me break through some barriers." "Right," Mark responded, his tone neutral but his expression clouded. "Are you worried about it?" she probed, not wanting to beat around the bush any longer. She could see this was not just idle curiosity for him, it was personal. He hesitated, eyes trained on a point beyond her, possibly lost in thought. "It's just, the showcase, the wedding. It feels like you're pulling away, Sarah. I thought we were in this together." His words struck her like a jolt. It hurt because there was truth in them, and the space that had developed between them was real. "I am in this with you," she said firmly, though doubt clawed at her. I need to figure out who I am in all of this." "By doing what?" Mark shot back, his voice rising just above a whisper. "Is it really about finding yourself, or escaping all the wedding pressure?" The question hung in the air, dense and heavy. Sarah felt her heart race. She almost wanted to object, but deep down, she knew he had a point. She was torn between two identities, the dutiful fiancé and the aspiring entrepreneur. "Both, I think," she finally admitted. "This is about me becoming the person I want to be. I feel stifled under everyone else's expectations, especially with my parents coming into town." "Expectations," he echoed, his voice filled with incredulity. "What about mine?" That stung. She had taken for granted the way he had always supported her, but this was different. This moment, their hearts were laid bare. "I don't want to lose you," she said, heat rising to her cheeks. "But I can't sacrifice my dreams either. Mark, I need to learn how to balance both. I want to share my journey with you." The tension shifted, it felt less about confrontation now and more about bridging a widening gap. He looked into her eyes, searching for sincerity, and she felt vulnerable yet resolute. "And what if this leads us in different directions?" Mark asked cautiously, his voice softening. "I refuse to believe it must lead to a separation," she responded, her spirit igniting. "But I can't ignore my passion, it fuels me. I hope you can see me, both as your partner and as an individual on this journey." Mark fell silent once more, reeling internally as the implications of their talk settled in. Sarah noticed the faint tremor in his hands, an answer lingering unvoiced. She could feel her own heartbeat quicken, with both fear and determination as she awaited his next words. In that moment, clarity flickered within Sarah. This wasn't merely about managing expectations, it was about forging an alliance with Mark that could grow alongside her ambitions. As she sat on that bench, she realized deeper partnerships were built on representation of each other's truths. In that revelation, she felt a swell of courage, the winds of change blowing fiercely around them. Just as Mark opened his mouth to respond, Sarah's phone buzzed violently in her pocket. Instinctively, she fished it out. The screen flashed with a message that sent a chill racing down her spine. The words from Jenna echoed in her mind like a siren. "I need you to come to the store. Something's happened." Sarah's heart dropped as tension whipped back around them, clarifying that the evening's revelations were only the beginning. What awaited her at the store could send everything crashing down, shattering the fragile equilibrium she had fought so hard to establish. As Sarah stood in the flickering light of the antique shop, her heart raced with a mixture of anxiety and determination. The familiar scent of aged wood and the echoes of laughter from her childhood swirled around her. This space had always felt like home, but tonight it felt charged, brimming with potential and uncertainty. Jenna was already there, her face lined with concern that deepened the furrow in Sarah's brow. "What's going on?" Sarah asked, fear threading through her voice. Jenna looked up, her eyes wide. "The showcase plans. I don't know how to say this, but we've lost our main vendor." They can't commit anymore. I feel like I'm letting everyone down, and time is running out. In that moment, Sarah's confidence surged. This was her opportunity to stand firm beside her sister. We can salvage this, she declared, her voice steady and resolute. Let us think creatively. How can we pivot? Jenna blinked, momentarily taken aback. What do you mean? With renewed energy, Sarah launched into ideas. What if we invite local artisans to participate on shorter notice? We could even host a mini pop-up to gauge interest and line up vendors who want to showcase their work. Let us open this up to the community and turn our setback into an opportunity. Jenna's expression shifted from despair to a flicker of hope, igniting a fire within Sarah. Watching her sister's demeanor change, she realized that they were not just sisters working on a project, they were partners, weaving their dreams into a tapestry of mutual empowerment. But what about your wedding? Jenna asked quietly, the question imbued with genuine concern. For the first time, Sarah embraced the tension that had tugged at her soul. I learned something profound in this journey. I thought sacrificing my dreams would protect my relationships, but I've realized that nurturing my passions will actually foster more authentic love. I want you to thrive, Jenna. I need you to thrive, too. This declaration solidified a bond in the air, their familial ties intertwining with a shared purpose. Jenna's eyes glistened with unshed tears of understanding. You're right. What's the next step? Working tirelessly into the night, they transformed the shop into a vibrant haven of possibilities, each corner sparking with potential rather than defeat. As Sarah and Jenna collaborated, Sarah's vision expanded beyond mere preservation. She wanted to create a movement of creativity, one that honored their heritage while crafting a new legacy. As they finalized plans, Sarah felt the weight of the world shift from her shoulders. The upcoming wedding no longer felt like a tether reeling her back from her ambitions. It became a celebration of her multifaceted life, a life that now included both her professional endeavors and deep familial commitments. The following days rolled forward in a whirlwind of excitement as Jenna and Sarah's collaboration gained traction, the shop buzzing with newfound energy. Locals flocked to the event, artists filled the spaces with their crafts while laughter and joy spilled across the floor. The sense of community fused with support enveloped them as transformation unfolded in real time. Amidst the celebration, Sarah caught sight of Mark standing at the entrance, his expression softening into something akin to pride. Drawing him in felt natural, as though inviting him to share in this pivotal moment in her life. This is what I was hoping our lives could become, an intertwining of dreams, she whispered, confidence bolstered by the stunning realization of her progress. Mark stepped closer, the flicker of uncertainty fading. I see it now. I should be believed in you earlier, he admitted, reaching for her hand. I'm glad to have you here. Let us redefine what our future can look like together, she promised, feeling a rush of empowerment spill over her. It was time to embrace not only her transformation but the transformation of their partnership, rooting it in mutual aspirations. As the final hour rolled in, with laughter filling the shop and attendees sharing stories, Sarah took a moment to witness the fruits of her labor. She had learned to stand tall not just for herself but to uplift Jenna and invite Mark into the fold. She understood now that her identity lay not in isolation but collaboration, a dance between her dreams and the love she nurtured. When the last customer left, and the dusty beams of the shop echoed softly, Sarah turned to Jenna with a grin, the relief flooding her heart. We did it! She exclaimed. We really did! Jenna cried, tears of joy trickling down her cheeks. A comfort washed over Sarah, knowing they had embraced the challenges, no longer compelled to choose between family and ambition, but rather, to blend and enhance each other's worlds. As the siblings shared a warm embrace, Sarah felt a profound sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had conquered the storm within and found her voice not just for herself, but for her sister and her romantic relationship, too. It was in this realization of collective growth and rekindled commitments that she found her deepest strength. The weight of indecision evaporated, leaving behind only a luminous clarity in its wake. As she looked into Jenna's eyes, she saw the reflection of what true sisterhood meant, and as she turned to Mark, she discerned the roots of mutual support blossoming right before her. They were not just surviving, they were thriving, a testament to ambition harmonized with love. And in that moment, the air thick with possibility, she knew the roots of her legacy would run deeper than the place she'd called home. This was only the beginning. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is indispensable. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this satisfying conclusion. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. Don't wait even one more second, make your voice heard.